Shane?
Yes, Adam?
Do you have an NES and or SNES Classic?
Well, of course, I've got both.
Well, good, because they're not going to sell them anymore, so you can't get them if you want them anyway.
What?
Hot take. Nintendo of America President Reggie Fils-Aimé has been interviewed quite a bit recently. We've heard a lot of news, because after the Game Awards, a lot of people were like, hey, what's going on with Nintendo? We love the Switch, we like what you're doing over there, but we want to know kind of what's up, what's in the future, what's going on with the classic systems.
Nothing. Nothing is happening.
Yeah, so in an interview with Hollywood Reporter, Reggie Fils-Aimé had said, hey, look, the SNES Classic, the NES Classic, the stuff that's on the shelves right now, after that sells through, it's probably going to be the last of those stock.
This is shocking to me. From what we are to be made aware of, the NES and SNES Classic continue to sell very well. And they're great systems, of course they do.
They've actually sold exponentially well because they've been available for the first time. Because, there was the disaster that was the NES Classic when it was released. They were like, oh, we didn't know people like Nintendo. When people were buying it, of course it was going to sell.
Oh, the disaster not being that the system was bad, by the way.
No!
It just sold out hard.
Not a PS1 Classic disaster, right? So this year, we had heard numbers about the NES and SNES Classic. It sold 2 million, one sold 2.5 million in this year alone, which is insane. It's really incredible. So it seems a bit bizarre that something that seems so beloved and is flying off the shelves is going to be sort of canned, right? But we have some assumptions.
Yeah, we do. So look, folks, let's just rip this Band-Aid off right away. The PlayStation 1 Classic is still a bad system.
And it's available everywhere for you to go and buy.
And that's a problem. When the NES and SNES Classic are so good, those should remain on the shelves until Sony has burnt out or has had to fire sale the remaining stock of those.
They're depressing me now, man.
Oh, it just makes me...
Yeah, so what could this possibly mean for the future of Nintendo as far as their retro titles are concerned? Because we know that Nintendo puts a lot of stock in their retro titles. Yeah. We love retro games. We love Mario. We love the old Mario games. We want to be able to play games from the past. So Mr. Fils-Aimé, in the interview with the Hollywood Reporter, said, we're still looking into our classic games. Of course we are. But we're looking to grow the Switch's NES library first. That's all he has to say about it. Which to me is like...
Well, here's what this basically means in my head. Now, the way I see this is without the NES and SNES Classic remaining on store shelves, they're trying to drive focus back to the Switch. Now,
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Regardless of how you look at this, folks, the NES and SNES, both of those systems, the classic systems, we're just going to call them classic systems from now on. The classic systems take a lot of mind share away from the Switch. People that are out there that want to play NES games don't think about playing them on the Switch right now with the NES online library.
Right. And they should be thinking of that because Nintendo is really trying to get people hooked into that online service. Right now we have, it's been beefed up a little bit, maybe closer to 30 NES titles, I think. Every few weeks we get a few more, which is cool, but it's still not giving us the exact same experience we had with the NES Classic. We had a lot of different functionality there, and I'm hoping that that's something that does leak into that service eventually.
We recently got some global hardware sales for the most recent Black Friday, and we actually saw for the very first time that, and we were surprised to see this. So
we had heard from Nintendo that we had big numbers coming out of Black Friday, and that's still true. They did, I believe it was $250 million in revenue that they made, which is big, but we didn't know the exact numbers of units sold, and you know that.
It looks to be about 1.3 million Switches were sold around that period for Nintendo in November. But then, unfortunately, it looks like the PlayStation 4, at least unfortunately for Nintendo, that the PlayStation 4 sold 1.6. If the Switch is struggling to beat out the PlayStation 4, that's not the greatest of things right now. Now, there's a lot of reasons why the PlayStation 4 systems would be selling very well around that time period. Red Dead Redemption was coming out, but at the same idea, there's a lot of people that should have been buying it, hoping to get the Smash Brothers. So there is a fight in the market, whether Nintendo or Sony want to admit it. There is a fight between these two systems that are going on. But at the same time, the Xbox One was actually rising in sales. It got close to 1.1 million during the same period as well.
So you did mention Smash, and I just want to say that what we're quoting right now does not include the sales of Smash that's in December. We're looking at November sales specifically. Hopefully, because Smash is selling extremely well, the numbers are quite big. Hopefully that is making a lot more Switches fly off the shelves, but we have to wait and see what the NPD numbers are there.
It's true. And what this means and what we're trying to allude with these numbers is not that Nintendo's doing bad in the sales market. Okay, they're selling quite a few. 1.3 million isn't a small number.
Yep.
However, what's going on is that the NES and SNES Classic remaining on store shelves pulls people away from wanting to get a Switch if they were considering buying one of those systems for NES games specifically. Right now, with the online service from the Switch, you get a library of NES games for free. You just have to pay for the online service, and those games are there available to you. You download them, you can take them around. It's not the most perfect thing. We've talked about it in the past. It could be better. It likely will get better. But if anyone wants to play NES games now in the future, that's going to be the only way you do that directly from Nintendo.
So I think a part of what happened with the NES Classic specifically, because it was really huge. The SNES Classic, of course, sold very well as well, but the NES Classic became the to-buy product for a long time.
Yes.
And issues with scalpers, you couldn't keep these things on the shelves, right? So the messaging was out there. Everyone knew about this. Not a lot of people have been talking about the Nintendo Switch Online service. Somehow they have to get whatever momentum there was with the NES Classic. They have to have some sort of advertising, I think, for that service. Because if they do expect people that are craving NES Classic games to be heading to the online store looking for them, they have to know about it. And people like us that look at the Nintendo news, video game news, we know about it. But John Q. Public over there may not.
So I assume what we're going to see is a lot more NES games getting added to that online library, or possibly, hopefully, some kind of virtual console collection. Now, another reason why we believe that the NES and both the NES and SNES Classics were removed from store shelves was because Nintendo wants to put it down in the line. You're not getting an N64 Classic.
Yes, and we did hear rumors before that the N64 Classic, well, Reggie Fils-Aimé himself had said, we have no plans for an N64 Classic in the near future. People still had their doubts, but hearing this now, as you said, this is pretty much the nail in the coffin. No, this is it. Going forward, when Reggie says that they're going to be focusing on boosting the NES on the online functionality side of things. Yeah, that goes to show me that that's the first step, hopefully, in several steps. I don't know how quick we're going to get into the SNES Classic zone of video games.
I'm hoping
within
like
months.
To be there. Yeah,
and then if they're going to transition into N64 implementation in their service, great. I would still love to have that controller, man. I would still hope that they have a standalone controller.
I think that's exactly the reason they don't want to go that route. Because if you think about it, the N64 Classic not only is going to have a bigger controller, it's going to be a little bit more complex. It might have to have a much more powerful emulation device, which makes it a much more powerful hardware. But the box it comes in will likely have to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And look, you're probably thinking, oh, it won't be that much bigger just to put one controller in there. Maybe they just make it a little bit taller or something. But imagine one box. It's a little bit taller, and you magnify that by thousands upon thousands in a shipment. Suddenly, you start getting much more expensive shipping costs, which works against Nintendo in this regard.
I mean, we are just talking about a controller, but this means a lot to a lot of people that are fans of like older games. We do have some hints, though, that they might do it, because we did get the NES, the ones that you hook into the side of the Switch that look a little bit goofy. We did get those for the online functionality. If they continue doing that forward, SNES... Maybe we'll get a funky...
I don't want that. I don't want N64 controllers on the side. That I don't want.
It's coming.
But
it's Nintendo goofy, Shane. They are going to do this.
I think.
Imagine if you could control two.
It would be so ridiculous.
On either side.
I don't want. No.
Dude, but remember there's two controllers for like GoldenEye?
Yes, yeah. But okay, look. You do get stuff like that, but I believe it's going to be far more realistic to see that logo and that idea, the N64 Classic, either sold as a cartridge for the Nintendo 6 or for the Nintendo Switch.
I like that.
Or
physically.
Or something like that. I think it would be in Nintendo's best interest to release the NES and SNES Classic as individual cartridges for the Switch to curve the traffic of people that want those systems to get it on there.
Oh,
because, hey, it's a better idea. Not only do you get the Switch, and maybe with those collections you actually get controllers.
Get the controller.
Included.
I'm with you completely. You're preaching to the choir. Absolutely. And I think to help along with the messaging, of course, you need commercials. You need to advertise it. But having the same sort of box art that was on the classic editions themselves, just on a Switch cart, like, hey, no, this is it. This is the thing you would have bought in a box. It's more compact, and it goes right into your Switch, and you can be playing your NES games, SNES games.
And how about this? How about if you buy the physical version of the game, you get the cartridge, you put it in the system, and then what would be really, really awesome is that you get like a digital code for your online service so that they're in the console and you don't have to have the cartridge in all the time, right?
That'd be cool.
It would be neat. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I mean, these are possibilities. These are things that could happen with Nintendo moving forward if they choose not to release future classic systems. And remember, the Switch is a far more powerful system, and because it's so powerful, well, it's probably a lot easier for that thing to actually run Nintendo 64 games at a little bit of a higher resolution than you could possibly get off of the NES Classic and SNES Classic.
Heck, we're already emulating Wii U games on the Switch. Am I right?
Yeah, it's not real.
That's not
look, folks, there's a lot of things that can be said about this, and I believe that everyone out there that wants an NES or SNES Classic, if you still want it, now's the time to get it.
Buy it before the scalpers get it. Reggie Fils-Aimé, the last time I'm going to talk about the interview, but he did say that they are looking into evolving the platform that is the Nintendo Switch Online service, and I really hope he means that. I hope they're really looking into this, into broadening this thing, because it could be very cool, man.
It could be awesome. I honestly think that there's a lot of really cool things Nintendo can do with this.
All those great games right there on your Switch.
Yeah, that's what I think the Switch is really great at. Like we've been, we recently got the Sega Genesis collection.
Every collection that we can play on that. Yeah, absolutely. Every collection we played so far, we're like, we have it at home, and then we take it and bring it everywhere.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You can bring your classic systems with you anywhere you want to go.
Seriously, folks, we're probably going to be doing a video about compilations a little bit later.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and you're going to want to focus on that video because we believe that the Switch has a couple of really good compilations that basically make it one of the best portable gaming devices.
No one's talking about them, and they should be.
Yeah, so we think Nintendo should follow suit, go into that same path as well.
Totally.
And it makes so much sense to us, right? But, like we just said, you want those systems? Get them now, because those prices are about to increase significantly.
Remember when they were $200 or $300? I don't know, man.
Yeah. Honestly, I could see them hitting like twice that amount.
Yeah,
now, right?
I don't even want to think about that. I hate scalpers. Anyway, what do you guys think about the classic systems being discontinued? Are you going to run out right now, head to your local retailer and pick up as many as you can? Are you one of those scalpers?
Or are you not going to care about this at all and probably just hope that it gets released sometime on the Switch? Let us know what you think, because, folks, classic games really do matter.